I started my work career as a part-time farmhand during high school, earning $2 an hour. Upon graduation, I was already married and saw the need to make a higher income, so I eventually accepted a position as a machine laborer. It was a nasty job on second shift cleaning machines, certainly not a desirable long-term option. Thankfully, that less than ideal initial position led to 30 years of progressive responsibilities, culminating to work as a plant manager. However, I felt much like a hamster in a wheel that ran all day, going nowhere, only climbing out at the end of the day. Not because the work was complete, but I was too tired to do anything more. So I think many of you can relate. So I began to consider what I should do differently. I jokingly tell people I went through a midlife crisis, but a better description would be a midlife awareness. I'd long felt a call to teach that I'd largely ignored to that point. I'd investigated making that career transition a few times, but it just didn't seem feasible at the high school level. Later on, I considered other options. It became apparent that earning a doctorate to become a university professor was the answer. Transformational moment for me was during my doctorate coursework. We viewed a documentary in a class session about Ray Anderson, the founder and chairman of Interface. One of his statements that hit home was that he shared the details of his spear in the chest epiphany after reading The Ecology of Commerce, a declaration of sustainability by Paul Hawken. Anderson's move to shape Interface's responsible business practices ignited a purpose in my life to use business as a force for good. From that point forward, I immersed myself in gaining additional sustainability knowledge. I had a passion for it. It became the focus of my academic research for 8 years. It was integral to the work that I did to develop courses for our students. Then, for the last 5.5 years, I felt it was necessary to take a detour as the Dean of a College of Business and Professional Studies. But I now tell people I then began to work through a two-thirds life crisis. As somebody in my early 60s, I began the process of defining my career swan song. 2 years ago, I worked through a recognized expert course taught by Dorie Clark. One assignment was to develop a breakthrough idea. Mine was to create a positive environmental, financial, and social impact framework for the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing is facing a wide range of challenges that I argue will require non-traditional solutions. For example, a recent report projects 2.1 million jobs will go unfilled by 2030, a potentially negative impact of $1 trillion in that first year alone. The current case will become even more pressing with the expected retirement of 2.6 million baby boomers in the coming decade. At the same time, too many people around the globe are currently unable to meet their basic human needs. Furthermore, it's a significant financial strain on 3.3 billion people, or 40% of the global population, living on $5.50 or less per the World Bank Group in an article from October of 2020. Earth Overshoot Day is an organization that calculates the day each year when the global demand exceeds available ecological resources and services. The date for 2021 was July 29th, exhibiting a gross imbalance of the supply and demand that is unsustainable long term. The poor, in particular, are the most harmed by current negative impacts to the environment caused by some in the manufacturing industry. While the challenges are real, and just a few of the many more, I do see solutions to these issues that can create opportunities for groups that have largely been unseen or acknowledged as legitimate actors to date. A new vision for the role manufacturing can play in part in improving the world. I became aware of Bob Chapman through the book he authored of Everybody Matters, The Extraordinary Power of Caring for Your People Like Family. His moment of renewed insight occurred when Chapman acquired a company in 1997. When the purchase was official, he visited the plant. Chapman observed employees consuming coffee in the break room. The people were excitedly chatting about March Madness, but became emotionally and physically drained as they neared the time to begin their workday. Chapman asked himself, why can't work be fun? A series of experimental competitions ensued at a series of multiple acquisitions that led to the inspiring results. The result of a great deal of work was developing a highly successful and sustainability business model focused on fostering personal growth as a compelling company vision. As I considered the naming of my framework, the word human stood out in its truly human leadership. A Google search led to Humanist, where the 10 commitments of living humanist values image that you see emerged that I felt should be guiding my work. One of the disturbing findings of the Gallup State of the American Workforce Report was that the workforce engagement is at 33% in the United States, which is startlingly low when compared to the 70% result for the world's best companies. In the US, 16% of employees are actively disengaged, while only 33% are engaged. At least 51% of the workforce existing in a state of just being present. My goal was to develop a framework a company could adopt to compel the entire workforce to become more fully engaged in their work. Building on my own experience in the manufacturing sector and my research, we're missing a golden opportunity to maximize human potential, elevating the entire organization's performance. Done collectively in the industry, each community, region, and collectively, the world would be a better place for all. As I further evolved my thinking, it led me to what I'm calling humanist manufacturing, as seen in the definition on this slide. A definition is good, but what does it take to achieve the full potential of an organization? As I did more research on the topic, I found several books discussing one aspect of the work to transform a company to a humanist approach. I found examples of companies sharing successes of stories about their results with various aspects of using manufacturing to improve human well-being. However, I didn't find a complete sequence of actions that could lead to the significant transition to becoming a human-centered organization. Therefore, I decided to move forward with developing a humanist manufacturing change framework. The 5 significant elements start with phase 1. This begins with a comprehensive evaluation of the leader and the executive team to define their current capability to transform the organization, make any identified improvements, and further develop and embrace the critical tenets of humanist manufacturing. Phase 2 shifts the executive team focus to evaluating the organization's current state against the defined best practices for their industry sector through a humanist manufacturing lens. The central focus is on the importance of maximizing human potential and stakeholder thriving. Phase 3 uses the knowledge gained in the current state evaluation as a baseline where the executive team then leads the whole organization through the strategic planning process. Next, the group develops the tactical plans necessary to achieve the company's desired future state of humanist manufacturing. Phase 4 is developing an efficient and effective change management plan that will lead to the successful execution of the strategic and tactical plans from phase 3. Phase 5 creates a tracking mechanism to monitor progress in achieving the desired future state, where individuals, teams, and the whole company can receive recognition and rewards when achieving defined goals. To date, I've shared the resulting framework with several owners and executives, each endorsing the completeness and the significant need for a comprehensive A to Z transition from status quo to human-centered approach to manufacturing. As we reflect on the vision of manufacturing sector allows each citizen of the world an opportunity to meet at a minimum their needs for just and healthy lives with full potential to achieve their highest potential, I found examples of these practices that include Yvon Chouinard's life as an outdoor environmental champion and businessman that led to the current day company of Patagonia. He strongly influenced the organization by what I learned while researching and writing this content, but so has his wife, Melinda. Their programs for materials, environment, and animal welfare responsibility are robust. The company has fair, humane, legal, and safe working conditions. There's also a fully transparent sharing of information regarding the company operations and those across their supply chain. The Boeing Company has provided over $1.7 billion in tuition assistance to their employees through the Learning Together program. It provides 100% of tuition for STEM programs. There are no out-of-pocket costs for all education expenses. Their employees can complete certificates or degrees at the bachelor, master, and doctorate levels from over 300 higher education institutions to include top schools like the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the University of Washington. Cascade Engineering commits to the extended community beyond the walls of their plant operations. Their focus includes acting on what they believe with programs in anti-racism, mental health, returning citizens, and support of minority professionals and business owners. The Forward Works program has focused to assist underrepresented group consisting of individuals with autism. Those with this capability are unemployed at nearly 90%. The program works to utilize the insight and strengths that those with autism possess. The participants bring their skills to work in current areas of credit, information, technology, manufacturing, and product development. The program is exploring additional roles across the company to further expand the success realized to date. Greyston Bakery is the producer of the brownies for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, one of my favorite products to consume. When Greyston Bakery Human Resource Manager Abby Saunders addresses employees on their first day of work, she hasn't seen their resumes, talked to their former employees, or called their references. Some have been in prison. Others are living in homeless shelters. Still others have never until now held a legal job. All of them want to change their lives. The company has a radical approach to employment called open hiring. It guarantees that anyone who walks into the bakery and writes their name on a simple form, answering yes to 2 questions about whether they can physically and legally do the work, will be offered a job as soon as one becomes available. Many of you are not currently working in the manufacturing sector, but you can still make the world a better place. I encourage you to buy products from manufacturers that have integrated humanistic elements into their production operations. For example, buy more Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Adopt the humanist framework principles into the work you do in your current career field. Encourage someone that could benefit from a better career option to explore opportunities in manufacturing. It can break the poverty cycle for those working with a humanist manufacturing operation that can help them to make a successful transition to a promising career. I would also ask you to vote for government officials that support policies that would allow for the more substantial potential for humanist manufacturing to make a difference in improving one piece of the world at a time. These could include support for integrating renewable energy, immigration reform, and training programs for disadvantaged populations. I'm confident through my own experience, my academic research, and the successes of many companies using elements of this approach that committing to the humanist manufacturing framework will, first, attract, retain talented employees seeking jobs that allow them to reach their full potential while working for a company with similar values to their own. Furthermore, engage and empower all stakeholders to see the significant gains achieved by organizations with transformational vision. It can delight customers that feel good about engaging with a humanist company while being cared for by highly engaged employees. It can lead to efficient and effective operations as the workforce commits to achieving the compelling why for the company's existence. It also increases profitability. We're doing the right thing to improve your company's environmental and social impacts will also enhance financial results. And ultimately, it expands the positive impact within the walls of your organization, the greater community, and collectively, the world. As I close, it may seem that we're not getting our message across when trying to communicate our transformational vision. Yet, we get those glimmers of hope that keep us going. An example is a conversation of Ray Anderson regarding plans to become a sustainable manufacturer to Interface Group in California in March of 1996. 5 days later, after returning home to Atlanta, he knew that he'd reached at least one person, Glenn C. Thomas, who wrote the following poem. Tomorrow's child, without a name, an unseen face, and knowing not your time nor place. Tomorrow's child, though yet unborn, I met you first last Tuesday morn. A wise friend introduced us to, and through a shining point of view, I saw a day that you would see, a day for you, but not for me. Knowing you has changed my thinking, for I never had an inkling that perhaps the things I do might someday, somehow, threaten you. Tomorrow's child, my daughter's son, I'm afraid I've just begun to think of you and of your good, though always having known I should. Begin I will to weigh the cost of what I squander, what is lost, if ever I forget that you will someday come to live here too. Ray Anderson's reading of this poem was a way that he closed out many of his talks, and it was a significant part of my sustainability epiphany. I hope my presentation will spark something in you that you will join me in making the world more humanist in manufacturing and beyond. Thank you for listening.